hear me? There we go. Let's try again. Can you hear me now? I had some sound issues on my last YouTube upload. I'm gonna actually re-upload it. I just uploaded it like a half an hour ago. It was my response to Cat Ten Barge and my critics, so it was kind of off the cuff, but I just kind of came out with it, and then I'm like, oh, I think that sums up very well what I want to express, and so I put it up, and I was really proud of it, felt good about it, but it was turned down too low or something. I've never had a sound problem like that. Like it was really too low, but I left it up because the YouTube, you get penalized for re-uploading. It's a long story, but you get penalized significantly in views for re-uploading. And so I was like, well, even though it's hard to hear, I'll leave it up. If people want to watch it, they will, and then I'll just re-upload another version in a little while when I get some time. And whatever, it won't do very well, the re-uploaded version, but whatever. Yeah, so YouTube does not have a function where you can really edit things like that. Like you can do some basic editing once something is uploaded, like you can cut things out, but in terms of like fixing significant things like sound issues and then re-uploading, you get penalized if you do that. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad for you saying I can leave it up. And I do, but I just also like there are some people, especially people who are hard of hearing, who do get discouraged from watching things all the way through. And so maybe I could even just keep both versions up, upload a new one. Speaking of that, I do have like new equipment. I'm waiting on an attachment for this to come any day. You know, you get the equipment and then it won't hook into your computer, and like I just want someone to figure all these things out for me. But anyway, and someone gave me a camera. They don't want it's someone that you would know. Actually, it's a YouTuber, a really nice YouTuber who had an extra camera, like a nice camera that they gave me, and so I'm gonna get all that set up. I want to get it all set up at once, hopefully in the next day or two. But they want to remain anonymous. I'm like, oh well, because it was a nice camera. So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting all that redone. And I'm gonna probably make my background maybe a little more interesting or sophisticated or whatever. I'm very torn about Elvis. You have to give me your opinion on Elvis. So I have two thoughts on Elvis. Well, not on Elvis as a person, because that's a complicated question. But here's my thought about this as a background. So on the one hand, like I think aesthetically, it's really kind of cool, and it's interesting. It draws people's eye in, and you know, like I have so many Marilyn Manson fans, and Marilyn Manson, apparently Elvis is a real influence or artistic influence or inspiration for him or whatever. So on the one hand, that's cool. But then on the other hand, there's the unfortunate, you know, Elvis with the underage girls or whatever. That is such a pickle, that whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. But so I'm wondering maybe it's not the best messaging, since, you know, we're already fighting, you know, these like sexual assault allegations and things supposedly involving minors or whatever. Maybe I don't want that as a subliminal messaging back there. This guy who started dating his first wife when she was 16. Is that right? So anyway, I'm not here to down Elvis. Ophelia, you say no. Manson's mother was an Elvis fan. Manson was not a fan himself. Oh, is that true? We'll see. And I am going to put this back up though, because I don't want that blank wall there. So I did not know that. So that's where the Elvis thing fits into the Manson lore, right? Is that it was his mom, big Elvis fan. I myself actually, I think, like, I appreciate his performance, and I think he's got a really fascinating story, and I'm really interested in the complexity of the man because, like I said, there's all these different facets, and not all of them are nice, you know, and not all of them fit together very well, right? But I'm interested in all that stuff, but I would have never called myself an Elvis fan. This is actually for my husband because he is a huge Elvis fan. We have actually a lot of Elvis stuff around the house. And so I got this for him at a thrift store. I just thought it was cool. I don't know. It's got a nice aesthetic. I like the green and the bright colors and everything. So Zoe says, "Oh, I'm gonna try to click on people's comments." Zoe says Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old. People forget that. Shoshana Lonstein. I have not forgotten that, and I was thinking about that the other day. Yeah, he would pick her up, like, in his car, after school, and they'd go hang out, and, I mean, she's never had anything bad to say about it, and her parents approved of it, like, he would come to her parents were very wealthy, they're really, like, wealthy townhouse or whatever in New York and Manhattan, and he'd pick her up and then hang out, and yeah, I don't know. That's probably a whole complicated thing we could get into some other time. I feel like what I want to do today, that is interesting. What I want to do tonight is to try to pay more attention than normal to people's questions and messages, because what I've done in the past, and I've just started live streaming. I feel like I just missed someone's super chat too. I saw one up there and then it went away. Was there well, I don't know. If I let me just say this, because I know I need to get a mod at some point. I'm sort of been resisting it because I feel like I've been doing okay on my own, and I really don't like adding another person into the mix. It's like mo money, mo problems. And this is not a knock to moderators, because I know that you have to end up having them, and I know that a lot of them, maybe all of them, do a great job. I don't know, but I just don't like adding more people into the mix. So it's like, and I don't like censorship either. So I'd kind of want to be in charge, and like I'm in charge of who gets kicked off, right? But I know that that's not sustainable. And one of the bad things about not having a mod is that I do miss super chats occasionally. So if I miss a super chat, you can let me know. There's one. That's it. I think that was it. SM, thank you for the $5. But if I do miss your comment or your super chat, just let me know. You might have to repeat yourself in the chat several times or whatever. Hi, Manson cases. Obviously, one of my biggest supporters and biggest helps, and she's got a lot of great stuff going herself. So she's building a website, she's got a podcast, and then she's always adding stuff to Twitter and Instagram. So again, this is where I tell people that I get my updates on the Manson stuff. She keeps me informed, and same thing with Marilyn Manson Uncanceled. Okay. Anyway, so let me scroll to the end of this. So my point is, I want to start taking questions and entertaining comments and stuff, and I'll do the best that I can without the mods. So anyway, let's see. Violet Renee Douglas says, I am so freaking out. I'm now friends with Ashley Smithline. Well, this is one of the positive things that seems to be coming about from Ashley telling the truth and standing up for the right side in this, is that I think that she's seeing that we Manson supporters, we didn't have this horrible hatred in our hearts or anything like that. Like we just really want the bullshit to end, and we just want him to stop being unfairly attacked. And so when that happens, then good things come from that, and it's like, I even hate to say that in a way, because I know that my adversaries, I don't like to call them enemies, but my adversaries, it just sounds better. I don't know. My adversaries, they like to jump on everything that insinuates some kind of a quid pro quo. Like, oh my God, she just said that if Ashley Smithline recants, then things are going to get easier for her. Did you hear that? No, but I'm just saying, like, bitch, like, you stop like spouting off a lot of like lies and bullshit and going after, innocent men, then yeah, things are going to get easier in your life. Does it take an Einstein to see that connection? That's blackmail, pointing that out. I don't know. It's just, everyone is so sensitive nowadays about when women come forward accusing people of assault or whatever. You're just not supposed to criticize them, or you're retaliating. And you're not supposed to point out to them that maybe there are courses of action that might be more beneficial for them than others, or that's blackmail, or that there's a cause and effect, and if this happens, then this might happen. I'm like, it's very bizarre sort of thinking that basically anytime I or anyone else resists the MeToo narrative, particularly the false accusations that are byproducts of the MeToo narrative, that anytime I or anyone else resists that we are retaliating, and that we're harassing and we're bullying. So we're just going to categorize all disagreement as bullying and harassing and blackmailing? Really? Because that's what it feels like. And I said this in the video that I just posted earlier. if you go to Popcorn Planet and their website, and you watch that interview from last night, or the conversation when Ashley Morgan Smithline called into Andy's show, and she talked to them for an hour and a half, and I was there for part of it toward the end. But if you listen to that, that is not a woman who's under any kind of stress or duress or is feeling bullied or cowed or anything. I mean, the stuff that was coming out of that woman's mouth, I was kind of like, whoa, okay, let's tone it down a little. Contrast that with the way that she was on The View, which was like, I don't know, it was like watching a video of some kind of like laboratory animal it's undergoing some kind of painful science experiment or something. Like, that was really the feeling that I was getting when I was watching Ashley Morgan Smithline in that View interview with her handler there, my boyfriend Jay Elwanger, just sitting there and kind of closing his eyes and grimacing, every now and then she'd say something, and she's just kind of out there, like, sort of alone, like left to fend for herself, even though he's sitting there, and she's just like stumbling around and finally just gives up in the middle of a sentence at one point. I used to make fun of this because at the time, satire was one of the few ways that I could get the message out. But I mean, now I don't make fun of it. I'm just like, that just shows how miserable she was, and she was miserable because she was lying. So you contrast the way she was in that with the way that she was last night on Andy's show, and I mean, it's just a no-brainer to me. One of them is clearly more at ease than the other, and more genuine and more confident and more secure in what she's doing. E-hacker, yes, thank you. Well, and being thick-skinned is best. You're right. I'm just, but I do want to, like, these are big things, and I do want to respond to them, so that the people whose opinion I do care about, right? I don't care, Cat 10 Barge's opinion, but the people whose opinion I do care about, I want them to understand, to be clear about what's going on. So, and look, let me just say too, the accent. I've had some people ask me about the accent because in the View interview, Ashley Morgan Smithline had an American accent, and then in the conversation last night on Popcorn Planet, it was obviously a British accent, and people are asking me, what's up with that, and like, look, if you can't listen to each of those interviews and tell me which one is telling the truth and which one isn't, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, to me, it's just so obvious, and it's so obvious too, the way that things have progressed and come about, that she's speaking for the side of truth now. What's going on with the accent? Like, I don't know. She says that Evan pressured her to use a very distinctively American, like Evan-like accent to sort of go along with the narrative, and that wasn't accurate. And she also has been a model traveling the world from a very young age. She's had like a very cosmopolitan life, and she's lived in Britain for a very long time now, and she lives there now. So, like, I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe we'd have to talk to Hilaria Baldwin or whatever to get some insight on these things. But like, I'm not worried about the accent. I'm worried about whether I can detect if this person is telling the truth and seems confident in their narrative or not. And she's just completely different night and day than what she was when she was going up against Manson, and she was just in tatters as a human being. And she even says she wasn't well. She looked bad. She looked emaciated or whatever, right? So I mean, to me, it's no brainer. And then again, y'all, like, we can't just look at what she's saying in a vacuum. There's all the other stuff that's been going on for over 2 years, all of the faked FBI letter and all. I mean, there's just all of this other stuff. So it's not like we're just completely having to rely on the veracity, total veracity or accuracy of Ashley Morgan Smithline's testimony, but it's just a lot of things are starting to add up now. And she did seem to me, she seemed confident, she seemed truthful. I believe what she's saying now, and I didn't for one fucking second believe what she used to say in the past, because it was so ridiculous, the way that she was delivering it. Pixie Doll says, off subject, do you have a TikTok? There is a Colonel Kurtz. Yes, that is me. I've done an about face on TikTok. I hated TikTok in the past because I guess all I ever saw were dumb TikTok videos. Let me just say, some of you know, if you follow my work, that I have had unpopular opinions on some COVID stuff. I'm not a COVID denier or anything like that, but like, I was very vocally against the mandates and the vaccinations and the mandates and the mandatory vaccinations and all of that, right? Like, I respect other people's choice to get vaccinated. My mom was vaccinated. I didn't try to talk her out of it or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't get vaccinated and I don't believe in the mandates. And you can look at my videos about that if you want to be offended or whatever or not. But where was I going with all of that? I completely lost. Oh, TikTok. So I got so fucking sick of all of the nurses and the healthcare workers doing the TikTok dances. Like, no offense to them. Like, they're like, I think what they were doing was great. And I know that it was, it was hard work and all of that, and they saved lives. But like, I did get like sick of constantly seeing like the nurses doing the TikTok videos. And it just kind of got let this taste in my mouth of like, there's just a bunch of silly stuff on TikTok. And so I resisted getting on. And finally, though, I realized, well, God, during the Depp Heard trial, that's where the biggest views were. I stepped on a bee, thing. That's what, that's what was getting so many views. And so that, and look, the truth is too, let me just say, the truth is there seems to be some kind of well, I don't want to be conspiratorial and say suppression going on with YouTube or Instagram. Maybe I'm just not doing what I need to do to be as popular as I'd like to be or to have the reach that I would like to have. But it sure feels like at times that I'm sort of hitting up against a wall in the with the YouTube algorithm and frankly the Instagram algorithm. And so I thought, well, I'll try something different. And look, here I am on TikTok. I have 600, you can go look at my page. I have 600 followers and I have one video with 140,000 views right now. And so I'm thinking, well, that's interesting because I just started on TikTok and I just got some followers and it sure seems like things are taking off there as opposed to, YouTube where you're just like you're like trying to like get out of quicksand sometimes to get that algorithm up. I don't know. I mean, honestly, during the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, it was busy, busy, busy. But things have receded since then, and there is a sort of a status quo that's kind of annoying. So, I'm excited about the TikTok, and also it's giving me an opportunity to do short videos and to not and the videos are not about me. Like, I'm not even in most of them, right? And so like what I really wanted, what I dreamed about doing when I was a little girl, well, for many years, is being a director. Like, I actually didn't want to be in front of the camera. I wanted to make things. And so I kind of enjoy doing the TikTok in a way because I'm not in it. But anyway, okay, let's see what else is going on. Hunter and Olive says, I got 20,000 followers during the Depp trial. That was prime. Man, that was like the golden era. I tell you what I regret. I am so stupid. I was so stupid. I should have prepared for that. I knew it was going to be big. Okay. I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't know it was going to be that big. And if I had known, I would have been like ready to like churn out, a video a day, 2 videos a day. I would have had plans, dude. But at the time I was like, working another job and things were really busy. And like, I could barely get out like a video or 2 a week during that. But damn, yeah, those views were insane. Insane. That's the only million view video I've ever gotten. I had one video on my YouTube channel that got 1 million views, over 1 million views. And it was the short video with Marilyn Manson's assistant talking about Thanksgiving with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and what that was like and what a weirdo Amber Heard was. And so if you haven't seen that video, you should go watch it for yourself. It's the interview that I did with Marilyn Manson's assistant. Yeah, it's 1 million views video, but it's funny. She talks about what a weirdo Amber Heard was. Someone says I could have cashed out. I know. I mean, it's like it's sort of, I didn't realize what was happening until it was like already happening. And then I don't know. I didn't take advantage of it like I should, but my life was really busy at that point. I mean, life's busy, but to whoever took advantage of that, I hope Umbrella did and others. Like, I hope that there were people who were getting a lot of mileage out of that. I mean, I got a lot of mileage out of it, but like, I hope it was really paying off for some people because look, that was a huge gamble. I want to say something about that Umbrella guy. I don't watch his stuff that often, and I don't mean that as an insult. I actually don't watch YouTube videos very often. Nothing against anyone else, but I don't. And so, but of the videos I watch, I do watch him sometimes in his streams, in particular, like topical stuff. Like if there's a topic that I want to know about and I know he's going to be covering it or something that's happened or whatever. But what I was going to say about that Umbrella guy is, from what I hear, he was very early to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. And I know like Incredibly Average Brian was like the first maybe, and then Laura B with the documents. I know she didn't have a YouTube channel at that point, but like Tug was like one of the very first, right? And and he got in early, and he got in at a time when it was not obvious that that was going to be a big topic. And he says he got into it because he was interested in it, right? And so which I accept, right? I mean, I'm doing the Manson thing. I got into the Manson thing because I thought I was interested in it. This is where I'm going with this. At the time, it was not obvious to Tug when he began to take a stand for Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. It was not obvious that that was like the winning hand, right? And so he made a bet early on that took some guts, and early on started devoting time to something even when there was not a big payoff in it. And so I was very glad to see then, I hope, that he was able to enjoy the fruits of that bet through that trial. And so, with the same thing with the Manson thing, I make a joke sometimes about how, oh, this is just a bet that I've made because I was hoping the story would blow up and I'd benefit from it. And I mean, there's some truth in that. Like, we all do things largely for narcissistic reasons, for self-serving reasons. But I have to say though, when I first got into the Manson thing, not only was it not obvious that that was going to become a story, but like everybody was telling me not to do it. And they were saying, "Oh, you just started your Johnny Depp channel and you're going to completely discredit your work before you're even out of the gate, and you're going to discredit Johnny. Here you are, you're trying to make videos about Johnny, but you're throwing in this weird rapist Marilyn Manson, and that's discrediting Johnny." Like there was there was really no reason for me to cover the Manson thing early on. And in fact, there was no reason for me to cover it for, well, most of the last 2 years. But so what I want to say is like there, even though this story is not like exploded or whatever, like there's a part of me that's like feels at least some relief, like, okay, like some people are starting to care, at least I'm not just like toiling away in darkness and it's having like no effect. At least some people are watching, some people are paying attention, and some people like it and whatever. So anyway, I don't know. I was rambling. I will do that a lot on the live stream. Okay. What else? Dave, Sticks and Hexenhammer is a big YouTuber, Clay Man. Yes. So sorry, I mumbled that. People who might not see it. Dave the Impaler says, Sticks Hexenhammer 666, wow, that's a tongue twister, is a big YouTuber who proclaimed Manson's innocence at the start of all this. Yes, so that's right. And I was not aware of this actually until a week ago or several days ago, and someone brought it to my attention. And so like I pointed it out online, and I actually messaged Sticks and said, "Oh wow, I didn't realize this," or whatever. And so yeah, good for him. He was. And then he put out a video recently, reminding people of that. And so there were a few people like eHacker, I know you're on the thread, eHacker. So Kristen, don't say the R word. Wait, I have to know now. Sorry, I just saw this. I'm like, I have to know, what is the R word? What did I just say? No. No, but Sticks, what was I going? Oh, eHacker. eHacker was early to this as well. And you can correct me if I'm wrong about when exactly that was. But I think that, weren't you making videos during that first week and saying, "Hey, hold on, this we have to be careful." I mean, after Depp versus Heard, that's what everyone should be thinking about these cases, I think. Okay, so Romina Jones, Tug Simp. I was watching when he got name dropped by Elaine in the trial. That was so wild. I'll never forget it. Oh yeah, yeah. No, he was a player in that. He and Incredibly Average Brian and a number of other people. All right, so I cannot read your language, your name. It looks Russian, but that may not be right? So anyway, but it says, looks like your big cancel interview in January should be with Morgan. For what did you cancel it? Okay, I'm a little bit iffy on the phrasing here, but I think maybe what you're trying to get at was there ever a possibility that Ashley was going to be on my show? Now, I know this was a rumor that some people had gotten started, or maybe they believed, I don't know, but there was so I contacted, here's the thing. I contacted Ashley in December because I actually had gotten a big interview scheduled at that point with a celebrity. And the only reason I'm not saying who that is because I still have some hope that this person is going to come round and they're going to reschedule. And so I'm not trying to be coy with you. I'm not trying to, irritate people or play games or whatever by saying, nah, 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 I know who it is, but I can't tell you. It's not that. It's just, I don't, I'm trying to use a little bit of willpower here and I don't want to fuck things up by airing who this is. And then, maybe they would have given me an interview. Okay. Because the cancellation was not firm. It was like, there's some shit going on right now, has nothing to do with this Manson thing, but there's some shit going on right now in my life and it's not a good time or whatever. And whoever knows if these are legitimate excuses or not, right? But I'm just saying. So I am I'm not ready to kill that goose yet, and so I'm not going to say who it is. But what happened was I did get this big interview scheduled that was going to be big. It was going to be huge, and one day I'll tell you who it would have been, and you'll agree with me that it would have been huge. Not Manson, not Manson's wife, but a huge interview. So I got that scheduled, and what happened was I actually hadn't talked to Ashley in a long time. I had tried some over the months to, as I do, try to reach out to people and make contact. And I have made contact with some people behind the scenes. I talked like Dan Cleary. He actually contacted me to talk, and we had a lovely chat. Honestly, it was we talked for like an hour and a half privately, and it was a lovely chat. And I don't think that either of us have really ever aired much of anything from that conversation. And honestly, there was nothing secret in the conversation anyway. Like, we talked about our perspectives. Neither one of us, I don't think, disclosed anything earth-shattering, and that was it, right? But my point is, like, I do talk to people, behind the scenes and try to reach out and vice versa. And some people actually do chat. And Ashley Morgan Smithline, look, she's very chatty. And somebody earlier on the thread said, "Oh my God, I'm talking to Ashley Morgan Smithline." Well, this is no offense to Ashley, but yeah, you and a number of other people are talking to to her. I'm just teasing you, Ashley, but that's one of the nice things that has happened from all this is that she is making friends on the side of truth, and they're not vipers, such as she was in bed with on the other side. But anyway, I try to reach out sometimes, and so what happened was I got this big interview in December, scheduled for January, scheduled for Manson's birthday. Doesn't that really get you? This person wanted to do it on the 5th. It was their request. And so anyway, so I thought I had this interview lined up, and some of you may know, I thought I had 2 other huge interviews lined up, and one of those may still happen. Some of these things are still in flux. I don't know. So that's why I'm not telling, but one day, sooner rather than later, I'll tell you who it might have been. I could have been a contender. Could have been a contender. Anyway, so I was feeling like on top of the world. I'm gonna make fun of myself here, and I'm gonna show you that I am capable of self-analysis, because the way that I conducted myself was really stupid in December. When I got this interview, these 3 interviews lined up, I was so on top of the world because one of them was just absolutely huge and the other 2 were really big. And it's just like I was just kind of felt like I was like suddenly everything was just sort of happening for me, and I'm like, "Oh, wow." And plus it was going to be huge for Manson. Like, that was the other component of it, is I was feeling so like happy that I was able to play a part in like helping truth, find like crack the code on this thing. So I was feeling on top of the world, and I behaved in a really stupid way. What I did was I publicized it about as loudly as I could on Instagram and on Twitter, and that was when I posted that Ezekiel whatever, it's the Pulp Fiction quote, from the Bible, "And I will come upon thee with great wrath and furious anger, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my wrath upon you." And I posted that reference, and it was like, basically, it's like, Rachel Wood, I'm coming to get you, or whatever. I don't know. And I posted all of that, and I was feeling really on top of the world. So I messaged Ashley because it's like, well, hey, everything else is kind of coming into alignment. And I had heard through various channels that she was that she was wanting to recant and that she was regretting what she had done. And I already knew that she had been in contact with the attorney. I mean, these things are not rocket science. And yes, there's people talking about stuff. I'm plugged in to some stuff. It doesn't mean anything necessarily. So anyway, the point is, I'm thinking, okay, this is a good time to reach out. So in fact, what I was doing there, that DM that got out, where I approached her and I said, "Hey, Ashley, I've got some big interviews scheduled, and I think your window of opportunity for doing the right thing might be closing." I was just being honest. That was my assessment of the situation. Is wow, things are really coming together. I think things are about to break for Manson. I wonder if some of and she wasn't the only one I messaged, by the way. I messaged other people. That was the one that leaked. Um, so yeah, but somehow, to answer your question though, where I'm going with this is that got twisted up by people into that I was trying to get an interview with Ashley Morgan Smithline. And I never for 1 second thought that I was going to have an interview with Ashley Morgan Smithline. Like, I mean, I really just, that was not on my radar and something that I expected or wanted or not wanted, but like, this is what I was trying to do. I realistically did not think there was any way in hell that she was going to give me an interview, but because this is how I would put it, because things in my life seem to be getting into such kind of crazy perfect alignment with these interviews just dropping out of nowhere. And these people contacted me, 2 of them contacted me, you know. So I just felt like things are coming into alignment and this is going to be the season of vindication for Manson. And so yeah, I'm going to reach out and see if this girl wants to do the right thing. That was what was going on. And then so somehow from that, it got the rumor that I was trying to bluff people into thinking that I was having her on my show. Like, I wouldn't even think that would really be like just a gigantic scoop anyway, you know? But anyways, so what happened was I got dropped by all 3 of my interviews, and one of them was nice enough to drop me after just like several days, and I have no issue with that person or whatever, right? I don't have an issue with any of these people, but I'm just saying the other 2, they dropped me at the last minute after I did a lot of preparation. I didn't like that, and got my hopes up, and frankly got Manson and his wife's hopes up. I hear. I didn't like that. I didn't think that was cool, but you know what? It's Hollywood. I guess people are shitty like that. And I still hold out hope that that those things will materialize again. Okay. And so anyway, my point is though, when all those interviews fell through, then I went from being like up here on top of the world in terms of my psychological state. And I know this makes me sound like a baby or whatever, but I'm just telling you the truth. I went from being up here on top of the world in my psychological state to like the gutter because it seemed like all these great things were happening, and then it was just all pulled out into, these interview things, YouTube things. And then about that time, I was when well, not too long after that was when things started happening, like Manson settling with Esme Bianco, which I didn't like. I'm not saying I disapproved, but I didn't like it. It was sad. It was a bummer. And then a couple of weeks ago, you know what happened with the Bianca Elaine thing, like things were seeming really bad. And so I guess my point is that, I know that to some people it seemed like I was behaving the last couple of months in a kind of an erratic way, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes that people, which is fine, that people are not privy to. And so what may seem to be erratic behavior is really just life is erratic. And I have to say, I have learned from all of this that you don't count your chickens until they hatch, and most of the time people are actually going to drop out of interviews, and that is what I've found. It's rare that you have people who commit to an interview and they commit and they stay committed and they're committed and they do it. Most of the time there's a lot of hand holding that has to take place. There's people dropping out, they're wavering, you're having to talk to them a lot, you're having to do a lot of stuff and reach out, and then most of the time they'll cancel. So kudos to the people who have done interviews with me and who have been unwavering, like Paula, Manson's assistant. She contacted me early on and wanted to do that interview. She wanted to get the truth out there and get the story out there, the right story. And she's never wavered, and she didn't require any hand holding or anything. And that was true for a number of the women that I've interviewed. Very, tough chicks, like Paula and Greta and some of the others I'm blanking on, right? But anyway, my point is most of the time people do cancel. And I learned my lesson from that I'm never going to announce anything again that I'm not sure is going to happen. That's why when I decided to do my 20-hour live stream, and I see your super chat here, I'm going to put you up so I don't forget. That's why when I did my 20-hour live stream, um, sorry, my 20-hour live stream several weeks ago or a month ago or whatever that was, I did not announce it. I just started streaming and I just every hour I'd be like, okay, I think we can do another hour. I think we can do another hour. Cause I'm like, I am not going to announce a 20-hour live stream. And once again, it's one other thing that falls through on my channel. So anyway, so yeah, I did 20 hours, 20 straight hours. I took some like breaks where, for sometimes for like a half an hour to eat lunch or whatever. But yeah, 20-hour live stream. And we're going to revive it. We are planning, we're going to try. I just said I don't announce things ahead of time, but we are trying to put together a 7-day live stream, which is going to be crazy, but we're going to see if we can do it. No guarantees. SA $5 says, wish I could send more as you were so deserving. Thank you for all that you do. I also love and appreciate your philosophy videos. Also, fuck the mandate. Sorry. I mean, I agree. Maybe, and I know people have strong feelings on that. And I mean, I've had people tell me that not getting the vaccine is the equivalent of committing murder. I certainly disagree with that, but people do have strong beliefs, and I understand. I mean, most people don't come to their beliefs from some kind of like narcissism, or at least not just narcissism. Most of the time, it's like people really think they're doing the right thing, right? And so, like the people who are really hardcore about the vaccine mandates, I have no doubt that a lot of them are doing it not out of some authoritarian zeal, but rather because they really think that they're saving lives and that the rest of us are, being like stupid and selfish or whatever. Not getting, I don't know. I don't want to suggest what people are thinking. At least not at the moment. I don't feel like getting into it, but thank you for that. Ian, hey, Ian, one of my regulars here says, regarding the interviews falling out, in all fairness, you knew all along Hollywood had an issue with cancel culture. Oh yeah. No, it's not, it's not like it's a shock. I mean, the shock was that any of these people were willing to do an interview with me in the first place. But what I don't love, and like I said, I don't have an issue with the first one who canceled on me shortly after making the appointment. But what I don't love is like when people people want you to read a a 300-page memoir so that you'll get a sense of their life, and they want to talk to you for hours about all their different experiences that have nothing to do with the Marilyn Manson thing, but just, this happened to me and this happened to me, and tell you, all these things they've been through, and they want to interact with you a lot, and then they want you to give them a plan and, type out like all the questions you're going to ask, and also, you reserve a recording studio because you don't have one and you want to be really professional, and you do all of these things, and then the day before they say, sorry. I just don't think that's cool. Now, maybe should I have a thicker skin about it? Sure. But I mean, I just don't think that's cool. But I know that's not what you're suggesting. And I do appreciate the super chat. The New Hampshire sentence, by the way, is it connected to be on the side of the face? Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not. Is this Katrina? Katrina, is this you? Have I been roped into? I've been suckered into speaking to Katrina now. I don't know hardly anything about that New Hampshire thing. That is something that I've just deliberately not paid attention to because I feel like it's just not important. I mean, that's just a stupid case. This lady trying to get some money out of him because a little bit of spittle fell on her arm and her camera while she's in the pit at a Marilyn Manson concert. I mean, are you giving me a fucking break? That actually makes me mad that anyone would take that seriously. So yeah, I don't know about the New Hampshire thing, but I think Lisa, the Manson cases, maybe does. You can ask her if you want more insight. All right. Rebel Bird, I am not going to stay on for 7 days. I am not that crazy. In fact, that would be really bad for Manson's image because the story would be that there's this like lunatic delusional Manson fan who's doing some kind of like the equivalent of like a hunger strike on YouTube. No, the idea was we're trying to recruit people to join us, and so it's like a relay or like a relay or a filibuster where we're trading off, and so we're trying to do, and we're just in the process of talking to people, right? We haven't got anything scheduled, but we're trying to do is get people scheduled for shifts, YouTubers and stuff who are willing to do it, and other people too who might just want to try live streaming and don't have a channel, and then see where I will need to fill in, and then, there might need to be some pre-recorded content and stuff too. So no, I'm not going to kill myself staying up. The 20-hour thing was crazy in and of itself, but I just felt like it. I wanted to do something cool. Especially after those interviews had fallen through. But no, I'm not going to stay up for days. Probably not going to ever do a 20-hour one again either. I mean, that was tough. Alex, I DM'd you on Instagram. Please keep doing what you're doing. I have been a longtime fan of you. I am terrible about checking DMs and stuff. I actually end up kind of seeing sort of the gist of things, but accepting messages, particularly from people I'm not following or whatever, I would like to get to the point where I can check every one of them and like read everyone, but like it's just me and there's no time, right? One day maybe I hire a personal assistant. I love it when those pieces of gray are just shining in the light. So it looks like you have like a piece of paper in your hair. I am starting to get a lot of gray hair, which is fine. I mean, I could dye it, but anyway. What else? What else? Jen, you keep doing what is right. You're starting to reap the rewards. Thank you. What else? What else? I'm seeing a number of people actually talking about the vaccine. That's interesting. Well, maybe we just do a stream one night where I talk about my controversial COVID opinions. Oh, Michael, I'm sorry I missed you. Let me see if I can find yours. I see the super chat here from Michael for $10. I'm just trying to figure out when I scroll through it why it didn't come up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Michael says, thank you for the edutainment. Appreciate you and your work. Thank you. And then Bee's Knees for a super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate it. Someone's Barton Brothers Studio says you're almost guaranteed to get spit on at a Marilyn Manson concert. Yeah, I mean, I do not have patience for stupidity. I mean, we're all stupid at times. Don't get me wrong. I've done incredibly stupid things in my life, some of them knowingly, and yeah, but I don't have a lot of patience for stupidity on the other hand. So somebody who agrees to work at a Marilyn Manson concert and they're in the pit and they get a little spit on them, and there was footage of this that came out too. I know I said I didn't look into it, but I looked into it a little or seen a little bit. There was some footage, right, of this actual event. It was like nothing. And apparently at one point on one of the Marilyn Manson tours, the spitting was such a common thing, or it was such a part of the act, that it was actually on the passes, like on the tickets or on the passes or whatever. There was like an image of like spitting or something referring to getting spit on, or so it was like, I mean, I just don't have any patience for that. Yeah, it's stupid. I feel that way about Bianca Elaine, the latest woman to sue Marilyn Manson. She was the one who claims in the lawsuit that he did all of these bad things to her when she was 16, when she was at a concert, after a concert. But of course, as I talk about in my show, if you go back to the podcast that she did in 2021 when she first came out with her allegations, and she talked for an hour and a half about this stuff on this podcast. And in the original version, the podcast version, she claims that the only thing that happened to her at this Marilyn Manson concert when she was 16 is that he forcibly French kissed her for 2 seconds. She actually said 2 seconds. I'm not just adding that in there for emphasis. She said something like, and then he kissed me. It was about 2 seconds. So disregarding her lawsuit, because that's just complete bullshit because she's changed her story. Let's just go to the original story, which I'm not saying that's right either, right? But I'm just saying, if we take the original story at face value, her story, get this, is that when she was 16 years old in the 1990s, she went to a Marilyn Manson concert. And after the concert, she went to the bus to meet Marilyn Manson. And when she went onto the bus, she got an autograph, and then she got off the bus, and then she stuck around with her friends to try to get more attention from him. So she didn't just get the autograph and leave like normal people, or like most people did. Apparently she was waiting around for some extra attention. Fine. She gets back on the bus, and she asks him if she can give him a hug. She asks Marilyn Manson if she can give him a hug because he's such an idol of hers. And he says yes. And she hugs him and she smells his hair. She touches his hair and I feel like I'm doing an ASMR video. Actually, I'm starting to get really relaxed. I need help. Someone get me back on track. No, but she's touching his hair and she says, and she giggles. She says, your hair smells really good. What shampoo do you use? And then out of nowhere, this beast, this predator, grabs her head, leans in, pushes her face in, kisses her, French kisses her. For 2 seconds, she said. Imagine how long those 2 seconds were. I bet those 2 seconds felt like 4 seconds. That's her big story of trauma. Now, I'm sorry. I understand that it is not ideal for a grown man. At the time he was in his 20s, so we're not even looking at the same age disparity as he had with Evan Rachel Wood. But anyway, a grown man, I understand it's not great that he is kissing 16-year-olds. I get it. However, is this girl a fucking idiot? Because the entire lead up to her story is just a series of her sending these signals that she wants some kind of attention. And while I would agree that a forcible kiss is generally, look, if it's not wanted, if it's not consensual, then it's not a good idea. It's not a good thing. But is that really a terribly traumatizing event? You assert so much agency and independence that you're going to go unchaperoned to a Marilyn Manson concert when you're 16. And by the way, I've learned since then that they weren't letting 16-year-olds into these venues anyway, but whatever. Let's just say I take it at face value, okay? You're going to go to a Marilyn Manson concert. First of all, that's the artist you're going to choose. Okay. So that's not like a safe artist. Okay. You're not going to see like Justin Bieber or whatever. So already you tell me you're going to a Marilyn Manson concert. I'm like, okay, well, you're wanting a particular kind of experience. Okay. Yes. Maybe not to be forcibly French kissed, but then you go meet him and then you like stick around after like the other people left and you're like basically trying to get more attention and then you initiate physical contact and you're flirting with him and you're touching his hair and you're saying his hair smells good and you're telling me then that when he kisses you for 2 seconds like that is just shattering your world to pieces. I do not accept it. I do not accept that. You can call me, you know what? You can call me a pedophile enabler or whatever. Because nowadays we've gotten to the point where if you say anything about a teenager, it's like you're talking about a child. Yes, I understand a teenager, an underage teenager, not a full-grown adult. I get it, but it's not a 9-year-old either. And I'm so tired of those conflations being used in various cases. He assaulted a child. No, he French kissed a 16-year-old that was telling him his hair smelled good and was snuggling up to him and snuck back there to have more time with him after a concert. Are we fucking idiots? Really? That's where I started to get mad. Is because like we're playing some kind of game now with each other. If we're acting like this woman was deeply traumatized by a 2-second kiss by her idol at a concert after she was saying like hugging him and telling him his hair smells good and stuff. All right. Let's see. What else? Disco 1000. Buy your ticket to Manson and you take the tour. What idiocy from these pedals. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's exactly right. Femnital. Oh, Uncivil. Hey, Uncivil's here. Kurt. I always it's funny when we would do live streams, it would always get really confusing because, I go by Kurtz. That's not my name, obviously. I go by Kurtz and he was Kurt. And so it was like never knew who they were talking to or whom they were talking to. Okay, Tug Simp. Probably stripped off in his trailer like Amber did. Pink Flamingo says, I went to my first concert at 17. I would have died if I got to get forcibly French kissed by him. I was obsessed as a teen in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, that's real talk. That's reality. What we're in now, I don't know. And look, I recognize that that human development is becoming more and more delayed. I understand that people are living with their parents longer, that people are delaying marriage and kids and etc. and gainful employment at times or whatever, right? For various reasons. Like I understand that, and I understand that that is making people more sensitive about the age stuff. I'm not sure that that's necessarily completely healthy. Like there are downsides to infantilizing grown people. There are downsides to infantilizing teenagers even. And I'm not talking about like just like sex thing. I'm just saying though that like there are downsides to everything and there are trade-offs, and that your average 19-year-old today is definitely much, much less mature than a 19-year-old 60 years ago, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. And so I would really like for this infantilization to stop. I'm okay with the age of consent being what it is and everything, but I'm really this whole thing of like Leonardo DiCaprio is a predator and we need to shame him for dating young, attractive women. No. Okay. And you can personally not like that. You can personally think that a man should want to be with his intellectual equal, but that's what you're saying. Says who? Sometimes being with your intellectual equal kind of sucks, I have to say, or your intellectual superior even. My one of the main things I'm trying to figure out how to get this comment off. Okay. One of the main things that I wanted to find in a man, we all have different things that we want in a spouse or a mate or whatever. DUI guy, what's up? He said, hi, Kurtz. I miss our streams together. I know. I've been really MIA with a lot of people. And you're not making me feel bad. I don't mean just you, but I mean like there are a number of people that I have commitments with or need to set up stuff with or whatever. And so I miss you too. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a tornado of just like constant. How do any YouTubers ever like how does Tug? This is my question. How does someone like Tug, who is so much bigger than I am, or like Andy with Popcorn Planet, or I mean, even DUI guy, you got a big channel too. Like, how do you guys deal with all of that? Because I feel like I have a small channel and I'm just struggling to deal with like the information and the expectations and the work and just staying on top of the topics. I don't know. Okay, but thank you DUI guys. It's okay. I've been busy too. Okay, but what was I talking about? Oh shit, I knew I was going to do that. Somebody remind me, what was I just talking about? Oh, let's see. I was talking about the age of consent. Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, you dating your equal. Okay, that's it. So I wanted to find a guy who was smarter than I was or am. And everybody's got different things that they want, right? Not everybody has to want intelligence, first of all. Okay. So if a man likes dating a woman who doesn't present as much of an intellectual challenge to him or whatever, like as long as he's treating her well or she's staying consensually because she's getting something out of that. I mean, but what I was going to say about myself is I wanted a man who was not intimidated by me intellectually and who I felt like kind of had the upper hand in that way. And this is like sort of one of the dirty secrets that modern feminism doesn't want us to acknowledge, which is that a lot of women are looking for their superior. I don't mean they're superior like, yes, sir, I have to, obey you, or wives submit to your husband, biblical kind of stuff or whatever. I'm just saying though that there is a kind of a dynamic, not in all relationships, but in a lot of relationships where a woman wants to be with a man that she feels like is in some way, and it doesn't have to be money, but in some way is like a notch above her, right? And so I wanted someone who I felt like was more intelligent than I was. And my point is that I ended up getting that, and I found out that I don't always like it. So, sometimes I wish he were kind of intellectually intimidated by me. You know. So anyway, I guess where I was going with all that is I don't know why some people get to dictate to the rest of us who we're supposed to date or what we're supposed to like. It's like on the one hand, our society encourages so much freedom, like freedom to choose your gender and stuff like this I'm not sure I'm on board with, right? Or to choose your sex. I know sex, gender are different things. But but I'm not on board with the idea that a man can just become a woman. I think that human biology is too complicated. Now, maybe one day we get to that point, and like someone says, I want to change into a man, and they just like they put you into like a little like medical chamber, and all these like things come out, and they just like slice off things here and there, and inject things here and there, and voila, you're a woman. Like when we get to that point, okay, but where we're at now, you can't just turn a man into a woman. Yes, you can make an approximation, or you can change someone enough that maybe they can fool people. Maybe they can fool a lot of people. Maybe they can fool everyone, and maybe they can have a kind of an interesting or semi-authentic experience doing that. Fine. But you can't yet change a man into a woman. You just can't completely do it. And one of the things that is getting pushed to the side, unfortunately, and minimized in the trans debate is the number of significant physical, biological, and even health issues that people have after transitioning. The human body is a delicate ecosystem. And anyway, so my point is, it seems like the woke crowd wants to embrace certain forms of freedom, like, yeah, sure, just change your sex. And yeah, kids can change their sex or whatever. And yet, Leonardo DiCaprio can't date a 19-year-old? Like, what? And so it's like in our society now, there's this sort of bizarre juxtaposition or dichotomy of, on the one hand, being really pro freedom in some ways, even in ways that maybe are a little bit problematic or maybe very problematic. And then in other ways, it's like, no, it's puritanical, it's repressive. People are drawing all these lines. So anyway, yeah, so about the age thing, I do think that there's a complicated conversation to be had there, and I think that also there's an uncomfortable truth that, and this is something that people could easily misunderstand, but I'm taking it on faith that you'll understand what I'm trying to communicate here. Childhood to adulthood is a continuum, and we understand that a child and an adult are completely different, separate things. But there is the continuum there of adolescence and teenage years, and it is difficult or impossible to identify at what point someone is mature enough to say, oh, they're an adult or whatever, right? We definitely can agree on what's too young. 99% of people, unless they've got a problem, can probably agree on what's definitely too young. But beyond that, yeah, there's that gray zone. And so I'm comfortable with the age of consent being what it is. There are probably cases where and in other countries, as we know, in situations where it could be lower, and that's fine. But I'm comfortable with it being where it is. But I am not comfortable with us hiking it up anymore, or us acting like someone who has reached the age of consent is still a child and shouldn't be dating someone who's older. I just, now of course you can have opinions on things, but I'm talking about this kind of like, of whether it's like the best idea or not. But this sort of like hyper judgmentalism, looking at Leonardo DiCaprio like he's some kind of a predator. I mean, give me a break, All right. What else? Torbus individual. I've met Manson on many occasions. He's absolutely nothing short of a gentleman. That is what tons of people tell me. Talked to many of them on my show. Okay, scrolling down. Let's see. The Murdoch trial. Someone says the Murdoch stuff is nuts. Is it? Okay, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I think it's Murdoch, maybe. Okay, I had heard a little bit about this story, and then I watched a bit of the documentary the other night. It is a crazy story. Here's my question. I thought this guy was going to be like a slam dunk, that he was guilty, but I'm seeing a lot of people online saying they haven't proved their case, and maybe he's not guilty, or he's guilty, he's going to get off or whatever. So that seems interesting. I don't know. Sometimes sex is best. You don't always need the conversations daily. I've never paid, though physical attraction can be mutually beneficial. I feel like I came in on, maybe that was, you were replying to someone, or are you just offering that? Oh, you mean when someone's younger? Okay, I was trying to figure out what was going on there. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, I mean, yes, no doubt there are benefits to being with younger people. I'll tell you. Oh, hey, AJ, you were at the wheel, steer the ship. Yeah, I Sorry, I'm looking at some of these. Wow, some of these questions are interesting. Are you a virgin? Well, you know what? I am flattered if you think that I'm young enough to be a virgin. I know I do look, if you're talking to me, I guess, if you're not talking to someone else in the text, in the chat. No, I'm almost 43 years old. I do look younger than I am, and that's because I'm obsessed with skincare. Obsessed. I did a video a long time ago. Should probably do an update. But I'm obsessed with skincare. I just do a lot of like laser stuff and no like Botox or fillers yet. I'm trying to put that off as long as possible. But I do a lot of laser. I get a lot of laser stuff. So I should say my husband's father is a dermatologist. He owns a spa, so they do all this stuff. So I get all this like free stuff. I'm very lucky in that way. But I do a lot of laser stuff, and I use Retin-A, which is the fountain of youth, and everybody should use it. Well, who cares? Who cares to use it? And then stem cell cream. It sounds more complicated than it is and fancier than it is, but it's called human derived stem cell cream. It's a tad pricey, but you can get like a 6-month supply for not a crazy amount of money. And yeah, and these are the things that work. Retin-A, human sourced stem cell cream, not plant sourced, but human sourced, lasers, and also SPF and staying out of the sun. And the rest of it, you're just basically wasting your money. I mean, like the stuff that you get at the department stores or drugstores or whatever, like, moisturizer is nice. Like it's nice to have moisturized skin or whatever. But like, if you're not using one of those products or doing one of those things, like it's probably a waste what you're spending your money on. But anyway, I talk about that in my skincare video. So, but yes, I'm not a virgin. Definitely not a virgin. That train left a long time ago. Although nowadays I could just say that I was coerced into every single sexual encounter that I've ever had. So I guess I could start going with that. That seems to be popular nowadays. It was coercion. Coercion. Okay, let's scroll down. What else is going on? Pink Flamingo says, my husband is 6 years younger than me and he acts more mature than I do at times. I get that dating an 18-year-old at 35 can be creepy, but sometimes age gaps aren't bad. They can work. I have a problem with the term, and not with you using the term, because I understand how you meant it, and also you're being very open-minded here. But I have a problem in general with the way that people tend to use the term creepy as a kind of a moral designation. Like it's right, or like creepy equals wrong. And I need someone to unpack for me. You don't have to, but I hypothetically speaking, at some point, I need someone to unpack for me what creepy means. Because I find almost every couple that I've ever been around to be creepy in a romantic sense, in that when I'm around people and it occurs to, like, how do I want to put it this way? I'm sure that you've had this experience before. Or maybe I'm just a fucking weirdo, which is also entirely possible. But when I'm around couples, like married couples or just, or unmarried couples or whatever, but like romantic couples, this doesn't happen like all the time. It's not like a compulsive thought. But there are times where I will sort of like for a second, like look at them and like I'll have this like image of them having sex. And I'm not like liking it. I'm not like fantasizing about it. It's just that like my attention is called to the fact suddenly that, oh, this is a romantic couple. It occurs to me they have sex. And for a moment I have this like vision that I wish I could get out of my head because it really creeps me out. So I find pretty much every sexual coupling of people around me, or at least the idea of it, creepy. And so if creepy is the way that we are going to determine who gets to date whom, or what's proper or improper or right or wrong, then a lot of us are going to be falling short, because I bet a lot of people would find a lot of us in some way creepy, or the idea of having sex with us creepy, or our someone else, like all this stuff. Like it's all, sexuality is creepy. in general, unless you're the one having sex or you're lusting after someone or someone's really hot. In general, it's kind of gross, right? Am I right? No? So I'm gonna need more than creepy. I'm gonna need and I know what people, when they talk about these age imbalances, they like to talk about the power imbalance. And I will grant you that age disparity, it is a kind of power imbalance, but it is not the only one. And I'm not so sure that in relationships, okay, Leonardo DiCaprio, he's got a lot of money and success and stuff. That's kind of I mean, it's like what is it called? A unicorn or whatever, right? Like it's rare. But in general, I'm not so sure that in May December relationships where you have an older man and a younger woman, I'm not so sure that the man has the upper hand in that relationship. I'm serious. I'm not sure that they do. And I really think that it's sort of irritating the way that we have such a sort of a simple-minded, one-dimensional view of power dynamics. It seems like there's a few things that people are just hyper-focused on right now, like age and race and gender. And these are like the only power dynamics that are recognized. Okay. Like, oh, if you're old, you have more power, except not too old, because then you're the victim of ageism, right? And if you are, and obviously, if you are Black or Latino, then you have less power than whites, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're a woman, you have less power than a man, all of this, like these just sort of like these cliches, right? But that's not the only power. Why does no one ever talk about the incredible amount of power that good-looking people have relative to people who are not good-looking? And that's no insult to, anyone who may feel bad about themselves or whatever on the stream. I'm not trying to make us all start focusing on, looks or how we look, whatever. I'm just saying that is a gigantic advantage in life. Intelligence is a gigantic advantage. Why are people not bemoaning the fact that there are so many people who are born so much more intelligent than others, and and they're getting this huge head start in life? Why are we not making smart people feel bad about being smart? Or why are we not saying that if you have a certain IQ, you cannot date other people with a certain lower IQ? It's a huge power disparity. Do we want really smart people taking advantage of people who are maybe like 10 points behind them on the IQ curve? But that's like people don't think about that. It just gets like laser focused on these few cliches and things that people can harp on and get everyone all worked up over and whatever, and then we just forget about the other stuff. But I was in a relationship when I was I was not a teenager, but when I was in my early 20s, my very early 20s, I was in a relationship with a much older man, and so the age disparity with us was 22 and 49. 22 and 49. Now, you could say, I guess, that 22 is not the same as 19, but I was a really naive, like, I've talked before on my channel about how I didn't have sex or drink or do anything or even date until I got into college at first. Like, I had a completely innocent up until college, and then when I went to college, it was like that's still there's still like a lot to learn or whatever, right? So I was in a lot of ways very naive, but I mean, not ridiculously so. Like if I'd gone to a Marilyn Manson concert, I would not have been surprised or scandalized if he had kissed me for 2 seconds. But my point is, I was in this relationship with a man who, and let me tell you, not only, and I'll just be honest about who it was a former professor. It wasn't some scandal like my own professor, I was getting in, I was dating to get an A on a paper, but it was a former professor that I started dating not long after I'd had the class. And so this was a man who was not only a lot older than me, but he had like 3 or 4 degrees, like MAs and PhDs, like coming out the ass. Like I mean, he was like really fucking smart and accomplished and everything. And I have to tell you, I feel like I ran circles around him in our relationship to the point where I kind of feel bad about it. Like if there was some manipulation going on, it was me. I was the one manipulating. I was the one not treating someone well. I was the one playing games. I was the one controlling it. So how do you explain that? That age disparity and that accomplishment disparity, and he had all, so much more experience and schooling, and how do you explain it? And it's not like he was like, really deficient in some way, it's like he was really ugly or something. It was just, but I mean, this is just a guy, like a really well accomplished, sophisticated guy. But because I was younger and I don't know, I had as a woman some emotional acuity at that point, even I was running circles around him. So I do not buy that in a relationship between Marilyn Manson in his late 30s and Evan Rachel Wood when she was 19, which is the situation when they were dating. No, I'm sorry. I do not buy that that he automatically had the upper hand and she was just this like helpless thing who was just, just at the mercy of these forces. And that's what I hate about modern feminism too, or at least modern feminism's focus on victimization and infantilization is that what happens is these women, they present their lives as if they're just at the mercy of these forces that are just like moving them around, and so like Eliza Blue, I've talked about this a bit on my channel, but I think that, oh, I'm sorry, I just missed a big super chat for $50. I'll get right back to you. Okay, but let me finish this thought. Like Eliza Blue, I talked about her on my channel a bit. This is what I think. Oh, there's another super chat too. Well, let me go ahead and do these. Kurt P, I'm 9 years older than my girlfriend, but I make up for it with my maturity. I bet you do. See, that's what I'm talking about. Oh man. That's funny. Okay, here we go. The other one. Lisa, $50. Thank you so much. You said, my hubby and I are 30 years apart and we've been married for 23 years. And I can tell you, if anybody has the upper hand to me, if anybody has the upper hand, it's me. And he would tell you the same thing. So age doesn't have anything to do with that, that it's the couple. Totally agree. And thank you so much for that. I like your Harley. I don't have a Harley, but I do like your Harley Davidson sticker there. Okay, but I did lose my train of thought. Eliza Blue, thank you. If you don't know who that is, Eliza Blue, she was she got into some trouble several weeks ago for, okay, well, here's the thing. She's an anti-sex trafficking advocate. She rose to prominence, I guess you could call it that, several months ago when Elon Musk took over Twitter, and she was kind of basically encouraging him and encouraging Twitter to be more restrictive toward, child porn or whatever. I don't even know this stuff's on Twitter. Like, I have no idea, but apparently she was saying there was a bunch of it on Twitter. I've never seen it, but I'm not looking for it. So I don't know. She's saying there all this child porn on Twitter or whatever. And so she wanted Elon Musk to get it off there. And so anyway, she got to be kind of famous through this. Well, Eliza Blue had this story. Her story was that she was the victim, or the former victim, of sex trafficking, that on 2 different occasions in her life, she had been sex trafficked. Well, what happened was she got into a kind of a dispute with some YouTubers, and I don't even remember exactly how it came about, but basically people started looking into her story and finding that it didn't really seem to make sense. And so it became this big thing and whatever. Now, this is what I think happened with her. I think Eliza Blue, just as she has said in interviews and has admitted, I think Eliza Blue got really strung out on drugs and was living a pretty rough life in LA, as she's talked about. Really, running with really edgy crowds, doing hard drugs, totally addicted, the rough, druggy LA lifestyle, right? And I think that she was living that lifestyle. And what happens when you're in that lifestyle, and no, I've not personally lived that lifestyle, but look, I've had some edgy times in my life, and I've run in some circles, and I've been exposed to some things or whatever. And what happens when a person gets really, really deep into the hardcore drug lifestyle and sort of the rougher side of that, we're talking like the street side or whatever, right? Situations come up for these people where they run out of money for drugs. And if you are a halfway attractive woman, or even not an attractive woman, and no, I'm not saying I've done this, but people do things to get drug money. And the way that I read her story is that there were times when Eliza Blue was strung out on drugs and living a rough life in LA and living sort of maybe one level above the streets, kind of glamorous maybe at times. She said at times she was dating some wealthy people, but like a rough sort of street type druggy life. I think she got into some rough stuff at times. I think maybe there were times when she prostituted herself or what she describes as happening is that someone that she was dating said, well, we need drugs. Why don't you go sleep with him? You go sleep with him. And so she goes and sleeps with him, and she calls it trafficking. I don't know for sure. And again, I don't want to, stake my YouTube channel on whether or not Eliza Blue is telling the total truth or not. But I get the sense from her that what happened was basically she did some crazy stuff in her life and some rough stuff, and she went through some rough things. And now, because of this Me Too victim mentality, she has been able to recontextualize those consensual experiences, which I'm sure were rough or whatever, but consensual experiences and choices, as now the victim of someone else coercing her. And so when I read that interview with Shane Cashman that she did, the feeling that I got, again, was of someone who, in describing her life, just sees her life as a series of things that she's just sort of like, like a ball that people are just sort of passing, or moving around. Like I didn't choose that. I had no agency. I just, they were just coercing me, right? And I don't like that. And I don't think that that's feminist. And I don't think that we're actually helping women to avoid sexual assault, to avoid problematic sexual encounters with that kind of attitude. Do you know that one of the most effective ways of reducing sexual assault, or reducing at least situations of perceived sexual assault, because again, often it's a he said, she said, and we don't know, or whatever, but there's research that shows that if you teach women how to clearly say no, first of all, how to decide whether they want to say yes or no, which that's a huge thing. And we do not talk enough about the ambiguity that is inherent in almost all sexuality. Ambivalence is not a glitch in sexuality. It is generally actually a feature of sexuality. There are many times where you will have consensual sexual encounters, and you'll know this. You will have consensual sexual encounters, and you're not really maybe entirely sure you're wanting to do it. I mean, I don't know. Is this bad? I have sex with my husband sometimes and I don't want to. And he has sex with me and he doesn't want to. And no, neither of us is forcing the other person. But I guess there's some emotional coercion going on if one person's horny and the other person's not. Like, how do you solve that problem? And, these statistics about 1 in 4 women being sexually assaulted. Well, when you look at, and look, I know that there are women in my audience who truly have been sexually assaulted, and maybe it happened in college. I'm not trying to minimize that does happen or say that's not important, but that 1 in 4 number is BS. And when you look into that number, or when you look into the majority of sexual assault allegations that come up before sexual assault tribunals on college campuses, what you find, and the research is there, and you can look at interviews with people who adjudicate this stuff for a living, and they'll tell you the same thing. The vast majority of these situations are alcohol induced, or at least they are aided or catalyzed by a heavy consumption of alcohol and intoxication, to the point where consent becomes this sort of murky thing where people can't even really remember what was going on. I just don't think that that's the same thing as someone physically overpowering someone, or someone saying, I will kill you if you don't do this, and then getting them to do that. And so the point that I was trying to make is, sometimes it's very difficult to decide how you feel about something, or if you want to have sex, or after the fact, you're still not sure if you wanted to have sex. I mean, I've had sexual encounters, and I mean, not so much with my husband, because, but like what I'm about to describe. But like in the past, when I was younger, I would have sexual encounters that were fully consensual, and yet I wasn't sure before, during, or after if I wanted to do that. Is that the guy's fault? I feel like some of this stuff is retroactively being laid at their feet. And I think part of what's going on too, and I've said this before, and this is just for people who are new to my show, but part of what's going on too with some of this is that we have moved away from a sexually repressive, traditionally sexually repressive culture where, at least officially, you're not supposed to have sex until marriage. And I know people were doing it a lot. I know there were double standards for men and women and whatever, but I'm just saying there was more repressiveness, overt repressiveness. And here's the thing. there was a certain degree of ladylike behavior that was expected from women and a certain degree of gentlemanly behavior that was expected from men. And you had all of these like sort of social codes and strictures, and some of them were quite repressive, that developed over time in order to try to ensure a certain degree of ladylike and gentlemanly behavior from men and women. And yes, that burden often fell more heavily, sometimes much more so on the woman. And I don't think that was good. And I don't want to go back to that. Thank God we're not there. But now you've got the feminist, and I shouldn't say that, certain feminists and woke people, they're trying to bring back a new sexual repressiveness. But now all of the faults, all of the responsibility for sexuality is now at the man's feet. And I don't think that kind of an overcorrection is helpful. And the other thing I would say is I think some of what some women mean when they say he assaulted me, because it's, like I said, in some of these cases, and especially a lot of these college cases, is where you dig into this, you find that it wasn't a case of physical overpowering or the threat of violence or whatever. It was this sort of murky thing where he should have known that I didn't want it. I wasn't really acting like I was into it, or I didn't expressly say it, but yeah, I kind of did sort of go, I don't even really remember. I mean, it gets into that sort of thing. And what I'm trying to say here is that I think that modern women are in some way missing the gentlemanly expectations of old. And because of the sexual revolution and because of the end of that sort of overt sexual repression, and because of the ushering in of casual sex and all of this, it sort of took away from women the right to assert certain requirements for sexual activity. I don't want to have sex with you until we have a commitment. And I think that what's going on, and I'm not the only one to say it, is that in some of these cases, there are these murky sexual encounters happening, and it's not good sex, and it's maybe even regretted sex, and they don't feel good about it, or the guy dumps them, or I didn't know it was going to go that way. And they're looking for somewhere to pin that. In the past, society would have said, well, we expect gentlemanly behavior and ladylike behavior. And now we don't expect ladylike behavior. We just expect gentlemanly behavior. So if women want men to behave as gentlemen, then women have to be expected that there will be some expectations put into place for their own behavior. And I'm not talking about going back to some kind of like thing where you have to be a virgin and you're a slut if you're not a virgin, and if you have a baby out of wedlock, you got to go away and you got to give it up for adoption, all this crazy stuff, from an earlier period. But I'm just saying, like, our grandparents and our great grandparents and the generations before us, they were not totally fucking idiots. And there was a reason for some of those old-fashioned ideas. And I'm not saying that I want to go back to that. And I'm not even married technically, right? So I'm not like trying to go back to some kind of repressive Victorian thing. Like, I'm living in sin right now. But I don't like where we are now with all this gender stuff and victimization and this sort of murkiness that has seeped into our definitions of sexual assault. Even some of the Weinstein stories, I cannot say this in a video, and I can't say it on Twitter or whatever because, and I guess I shouldn't even be saying it here, because as soon as I say this, someone's going to cut it up and clip it and use it to trash me online. But let me be very, very clear. So I have watched a documentary on Harvey Weinstein. I've read about Harvey Weinstein. I've read all the accounts, but I've read a lot of the accounts and all of that. I'm familiar with all that. I'm going to stop for a moment to check this. Batboy Oakland, $5. What we need to understand is that if I don't like something, then my feelings about that thing are what determine reality. Yeah, exactly, right. Harvey Weinstein. Oh, I'm sorry, Laura B. Thank you, Laura B. I appreciate that. I see you a lot on a lot of the streams. I know you support Tug a lot. And so I just appreciate your attitude and that you support YouTubers and you're around a lot. Linda Azelson, thank you for the super sticker. Let me see, before I get back to Weinstein, let me see if there's anybody I overlooked. So this is what let me get myself into trouble with Weinstein. Or about Weinstein, talking about Weinstein. So Harvey Weinstein, he definitely, I mean, I never know anything definitely, but I very much believe that Harvey Weinstein did sexually assault some women. I have heard stories or read stories, and that seem credible to me, that I believe that he physically overpowered some women. That is sexual assault, and so he deserves punishment for that. So I don't take issue with him being punished or whatever, right? That's not the point. And also, it seems like he definitely fostered a hostile work environment, since he was basically using his position as a casting couch. I don't think that's great workplace behavior. I understand that that's the way it's been in Hollywood since the beginning and stuff, but I'm just saying, like, no, I don't think that's a good boss. Now, I think he was brilliant in other ways and was a great producer and all of that. You know, we wouldn't have Pulp Fiction probably without him, or maybe even Tarantino would have never become big. But yeah, I agree. Harvey Weinstein, bad guy. But I want to say something that's going to upset some people, or maybe no one. I don't know. There are quite a few of the stories about Harvey Weinstein that are not, those stories are being categorized as sexual assault, and they're not sexual assault. And again, not all of them. And again, I think that he has assaulted women, and I think he deserves to be in prison. So, but my discomfort comes in the way that some of these claims against him have been presented as rape and sexual assault, and that's not what they are. And I don't want to get into specifics. I don't want to talk about specific people or whatever. But as an example, there was a woman, and this is not, I'm not talking about Rose McGowan, because, you know, that's connected to the Manson thing. That's not what I'm talking about here. I can't remember her name. It was a woman who was on the documentary, and I can't remember what her name was. But anyway, she was talking about Weinstein, and this was her story. Okay. Her story is that as an aspiring actress, he arranged a meeting with her in his hotel room, and she went to the meeting, and he made a very mild pass at her. I think he tried to kiss her, and she left, and it was not a big deal. He didn't try to overpower her. Like, she didn't describe it as some, you know, assault or whatever. It's like he made a pass at her. She said no, she left. Well, he invited her sometime after that to come to his hotel room again. And she went to his hotel room, and she said she said that she realized, based on their past encounters, that he might try to hit on her again, but she really wanted a big break in her career, and she felt like it was worth the risk. So she knew, based on his past behavior, that he was probably going to try to hit on her again, but she felt like it was worth it to take that risk. So she goes to his hotel room, and she goes in, or he lets her in, or no, he doesn't let her in. She goes in, I guess, or something. And she sits down, and she says that her story, her words, Harvey Weinstein comes out of the bathroom, and he has no pants on, no underwear, no pants, nothing. He's got a shirt that's not hiding his belly, and then his genitals are hanging out, and he's on the phone with someone, not even paying attention to her, right? Like, he's yelling into the phone, apparently, Mr. Producer. But he comes out and he's yelling, and he has no pants on. And she says, I just froze. And then he got off the phone, and he comes over, and he ushers me into the bathroom, and he starts masturbating. And I stood there until he was finished, and then I left. That's unpleasant. I'm sure it was gross. It might even be traumatizing, but that's not sexual assault. And if that's all that he did, then, you know, but it's not all he did. And I do believe he did actually physically overpower and sexually assault some women. And I also think that, you know, it's not great for the boss to be using the office as a casting couch or whatever. But I am deeply uncomfortable with this attitude now that emotional coercion or emotional manipulation is like raping someone. And we're just in deep trouble, deep, deep trouble. If a woman sees a man come out with his genitals flapping in the wind, and she can't, like, put two and two together that, oh, this is a sexual situation, I should leave. But you know what they mean when they say I froze? What they're saying is, I'm froze because I'm doing the mental gymnastics of, like, well, he grosses me out. I don't want to hook up with him. He's got his genitals flapping in the wind. This is really uncomfortable. I want to leave, but oh, I really want this career break. And I really would. Is there some way that I can just really walk the lines that I don't give him what he wants, but I get what I want? That's what's going on. Not in all of them, not in the situations where he's actually assaulting women. But I'm just saying, there's some of that going on in there. and it makes me uncomfortable, and whatever. People can cut this up and attack me online or whatever, but I think it's wrong. 99 cents. Yo Hunter. Yo Hunter. Let me find you. There we go. Yo Hunter super sticker 99 cents. Thank you so much. Lynn Elizabeth Benson, $2 super sticker. Okay, so I'm getting tired. Y'all, I know it hasn't been 2 hours, but I am tired and lots been going on with the Manson stuff. So I am going to wrap it up. Does anyone want to ask a final question or bring up a final topic or whatever? Flapping in the wind. Yeah. Did you love that? You didn't love that so much? Oh, man. So policy says these women knew this man could end their entire career. The power dynamics are already extremely skewed. Man, I think Manson was innocent too, but this is toxic and gross as fuck. I'm out. Sort of a barely literate response there. But I guess they're taking issue with the Weinstein thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to be any clearer about what I'm saying. I said he was sexually harassing them. I said it's not good behavior in a boss. Okay, but these power dynamics you're talking about, it's not the same as holding someone down and raping them. I'm sorry, you're just wrong. Policy. Maybe you need to study policy a little more. NPNG Creative Media, £2. Allison Mackey, also a big player in the playground. I don't know anything about that. I should check it out, though, what you're talking about there. I will. SD, thank you. $50 a super sticker. That's a nice one. You know what? That's a nice one maybe to end on. Wait a minute, though. I just saw Tug Simp. Nice to be in a chat I'm not banned from. Well, this makes me concerned because have you been doing things for the last hour and a half that you should have been banned for that I've just been missing? I hate it when I get to the end of the chat and then someone tells me that there's like someone who's been terrorizing people. I guess I do need a mod for that. Someone's been terrorizing the chat for the last 2 hours, but why do you get banned, Tug Simp? Okay, well, Kurtz, you need moderators. All right. Well, everybody, listen, I appreciate you so much. And like I said, and not just the people with I think I missed some super stickers. Shit. Just a second. Ian Kinzel, I like how that one person paid you money to complain about your you know what? I didn't even think about that. Well, hey, look, that is a good way of putting it. That's a very glass half full. I should want more people to complain if they're going to pay. I don't mind the hate watchers. I will be honest about that. Okay, other super stickers have I missed out on? Fun Living Diva. Leo's lady is old enough to fight and die for her country and should have a choice to date who she wants. If I was her, I would date Leo too. Okay, this is a great fucking point. And this kind of hits a nerve because my husband is ex-military and I mean, he wasn't drafted. He did it voluntarily. But why are we so comfortable with killing teenagers, but not with them having sex with Leonardo DiCaprio? I mean, killing them, but like if you send them off to war or if you allow them to join the military, you're theoretically you're putting them in a danger zone, depending on where they're stationed. Like, why are we okay with that? So you can't, if you're 19, it's not, society, there are people in society who think that you can't fuck Leonardo DiCaprio, but you can take a bullet, I guess, in Afghanistan. That makes a lot of sense. It really does tell you something about the puritanical roots of our culture. And look, I come from a Christian family. I think being a Judeo-Christian nation has a lot of good aspects to it. But like it is interesting how people are more okay with violence than they are with sexuality. That's interesting at times. All right. Did I miss anybody else? Wolfsong 5. I've always liked Manson. Thanks for doing what you were doing. This is my first super chat ever. You're worth it. Thank you so much. Mystified, as always. I know I see you a lot on my stuff. Always appreciated. $10 super sticker. Thank you. I think I got all of them. Yes, I think so. So everybody, thank you so much. I think what I want to do in the future, and thank you. God, I'm terrible with this name. Saqib, am I saying that right? Don't hate me if I'm getting it wrong. Are you prepared to be attacked by MSM? Well, I'm expecting that Kat Tenbarge and Rolling Stone are probably writing a hit piece on me at this moment. So I guess, yeah. I mean, you got to get famous some way, right? Yeah. No, I mean, I am. I'm actually, you know what I'm expecting that hasn't happened yet? I've been expecting to get sued for a long time. And not because I think I'm doing anything wrong or because I'm telling lies. I'm expecting to get sued for telling the truth. But that has not happened yet, knock on wood, thank God. The way that I determined I was going to deal with it was I was going to turn it into a major YouTube opportunity, make lemons into lemonade, and I was going to cover my own defamation lawsuit. And I thought it'd actually be cool if I could even like try to learn the law myself and like represent myself. Andrea Burkhart told me that I was fucking crazy to think like that, but I don't know. So anyway, but am I attacked? Yeah, I am. I am prepared to be attacked. I mean, if you get, it's in one sense, it's a sign that you're getting bigger and you're getting stronger and you're having an impact. And so I would expect that I'm going to be, if I become successful, that I'm going to be attacked a lot more. And also, let's face it, the anti-Manson, MeToo, woke, Amber Heard loving crowd, they have been hit some really, really big blows. First with the Johnny Depp trial and what that exposed to the public, but also this Manson stuff, because this thing has been flying under the radar for most people, and most people either assumed that he was guilty or they assumed it was one of these just kind of mutually toxic situations, like, well, yeah, these girls are crazy or opportunistic or whatever, but look at him, I'm sure he's an abusive freak and whatever, right? And now people are waking up to the fact that there are good indications that he's the innocent victim of a scam. Innocent, not in the sense of like an angel, okay? Innocent in the sense that he didn't do the things he's accused of, and he's not a raper or beater or abuser of women. That is a big blow to the narrative. It is a big wake up call for a lot of people. And frankly, it's shocking to people like Kat Tinbarge, who used to think that the best way to insult Johnny Depp or to malign Johnny Depp's character was to tie him to Marilyn Manson. You know, I mean, how many times in that trial did they bring up Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Manson, right? Because they thought that was the best way to hurt Depp, to tie him to Manson. Now come to find out, Marilyn Manson, not even a bad guy. He's the victim of a scam. He's gentle to women. So yeah, that's a big hit for them, and their world is kind of imploding. And look, all of their narratives have been wrong. Okay? The mainstream media is just like, they're just wrong on like almost everything. I mean, I hate to say that, you know, because no one is wrong on everything. Well, Kat Tinbarge might be. But yeah, they are wrong a lot. And so I would expect that as people like me point out in the most obnoxious ways possible how wrong they are and how frequently they are wrong about so much, yes, I expect a lot of blowback. And all I can do is say, you know, inshallah, hopefully it's for good. And my fate has never been ultimately in my hands, but honestly, I think in God's. And so we'll see how long this ship can stay afloat. All right. Everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been a nice stream. It didn't look like anybody was getting out of control, and I'm gonna try to have more structure for next time. Maybe have some topics that people are sure. I mean, I know we were gonna talk about Manson, but next time maybe have some other topics in mind. And I don't know. I don't know how people like to structure live streams. Actually, maybe this is fine, but I'm gonna experiment with some different things. I'm gonna try to watch other people's live streams more too, get ideas, and you know, maybe be a little more, and some of them maybe a little more sort of like kind of loose and funny, or like play some pranks, you know, like I don't know, I'd like to even like do some like fun like prank like stuff, but I mean nothing too bad, you know, maybe just like call the Los Angeles district attorney and find out what the fuck is taking so long with the Manson stuff. No. All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much. Check out my work if you haven't already. And yeah, I look forward to reading about myself in Kat Tinbarge's article tomorrow and Thomas Meyer's Rolling Stone hit piece. All right, bye-bye.